Hey guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we will see how we can create a table in Postgres. So to create a table, we need to use DDL command. I mean the data definition language command. Okay, and the SQL query for creating a table is look like. So here you can see the syntax for creating a table. That first you need to use the command that is create table, and then you need to provide your table name. Okay, and after table name, what you need to do, that you need to mention your column types along with their length. Like for example, if your column name is ID, then it should be integer, and what the column constraint you want to set it. So here you can see that this is the column one. Okay, so it is the column name, and the type belong determines the type of that attribute. Okay, whether it could be string or integer. And here you can see the column constraint. So column constraint is like adding some restriction to your column name. Okay, for example, you can add constraint like not null, unique, foreign key, primary key, and so on. Okay, and in the last you can see there is some table constraint. So you can add the table constraint into your uh, table as well. Okay, both columns and table constraint are optional, and you might need them sometimes and sometimes not, but it is recommended to have some constraint on your table and table columns. Okay, now let's briefly talk about the constraints. So here you can see that these are few constraints that we will use regularly with our table names. So here you can see that the first constraint is the not null. It ensures the value in a column cannot be null. Okay, you cannot, while inserting a record for the table, you cannot left the value of attribute that you set as not null as empty. Okay, and the other attribute, another constraint is like unique. The unique constraint ensures that the value in a column unique across the rows within the same table. For example, let's say ID of a user. Okay, so every user has unique ID, every student has a unique enrollment number, or every user has a unique email. Okay, so you can add the unique constraint to that. Okay, so every user has a unique email. Okay, and sometimes you can also use multiple constraint for a single column as well. For example, you can add unique and not null constraint to email, so that whenever a user record inserted into the database, it must be present and it must be unique as well. Okay, and in rails we use these as validations. For example, uniqueness true, presence true, and so on. Okay, and the other constraint is primary key. It ensures that a column uniquely identifies the entire row in the table. Okay, a table can have one and only one primary key. The primary key constraint allows you to define the primary key of a table. Okay, so sometimes it is the ID that we use as the primary key, because ID is the unique for every row. Okay, sometimes you can choose another column as well, but your table has, or your table row has only one primary key. Okay, and that should be strong enough to uniquely identify a row. Okay, now the next constraint is check. So the check constraint ensure that the data must satisfy a boolean expression. Okay, and another constraint is like foreign key. Foreign key ensures a value in a column or a group of columns from a table exists in a column or group of columns in another table. Unlike the primary key, a table can have many foreign keys. Okay, I mean, primary key can be one. Okay, but a foreign key can have multiple rows, or a table can have multiple foreign keys. For example, sorry. Okay, and for this lecture, we are not going to use these constraints, but we will use these constraints in coming lectures. And for now, let's start creating our first table in Postgres. Okay, so switch to the terminal, and there we will create a table. So first switch to the terminal and open the Postgres console. So how you can do that? Sudo hyphen u and then Postgres and then PSQL. Okay, here we need to create our first table. Okay, so to create a table, you can choose any name, but I am using, for example, let's say students table. Okay, so what you can do, first use the create table. Okay, and then now you need to mention your table name here. So let's say, for example, students. Okay, however, you can name your table as plurals as well or singular as well. There is no constraint on naming your tables. Okay, but I am using the table names plural here. Why? Because you know that we mainly work with rails. Okay, on my channel. So we mainly work with Rails, and Rails has a recommendation that your table names must be in plural. So I'm using the plural names here. Okay. So if you wish, you can use the singular name as well, or you can provide name in capitals as well. Okay. So I'm using the students here. Okay. And now what you need to do, you need to provide the attributes of the table or the columns of the table here. So first attribute that I'm providing here is the ID. Okay. And I'm providing this attribute as integer. So it must be integer. Okay. And then name. So name could represent the name of an student. Okay. And it type must be, let's say, some string or text. So I'm using varchar here. So what I can use, varchar. Okay. And its length, let's say, provide 255, because we don't know that what exactly the name of a length of a name. Okay. It could be let's say 10 characters for some student, or it could be 50 characters for some other student. So for safe side, let's use 255 here. Okay. And then we can use email as well, varchar. Okay. And then just provide 255 here. Okay. And then contact number, and contact number is also varchar to 255, or you can add 20 itself. It also works. Okay. And then address and provide varchar here of 255. Okay. So 255. And now just at the end of the command, you need to provide the semicolon, and when you press the enter, you can see that create table is returning into the result. Okay. That means your table has been created into Postgres successfully. Okay. And now how you can identify that your table is listed in Postgres or not, so you just need to use /d command. Okay. So here you can see, and when you run this command, you can see that the students table has been created. Okay. Here you can see one more table, that is company, and that is I already created in my database. So here you can see that the students table has been created. Okay. And that's it. So in this lecture, we saw how to create a table in Postgres. Now in the next lecture, we will see how to create a new table by checking that if the table already exists or not. Meanwhile, try this lecture at your end, and we will meet into the next lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.